By popular request, here's my 101 on what unschooling is and how to unschool. Unschooling is the most personalized curriculum that exists ever. Inspired by things like the Montessori philosophy, where instead of a teacher getting up and teaching a lesson, kids go to things that they're feeling really interested in and learn that, unschooling takes that a step further. Instead of setting out 10 things and letting your kid pick out of the 10 subjects that they're allowed to learn, unschoolers have the world as their amount of subjects. One of the problems with public school is that they don't teach things like starting your own business or growing your own food or making your own bread, zoology. A story I love is there's this kid who's really into reptiles, an unschooler. He saves up to buy one exotic one that he'd studied. His parents have taken him to reptile museums and made this all possible. He ends up breeding this reptile and selling it, all the babies, and trading it for other exotic reptiles. He becomes a collector and a business owner. He makes many thousands of dollars a year working in a field that he loves before the age of 15. A successful reptile trader and breeder, set up to do zoology, set up to be a business owner, set up for all sorts of things. And you couldn't put that in the science category. You couldn't put it in the business category. It's all so much more integrated and personal and diverse than that. How you would go about unschooling is every day you'd wake up and just do what you're naturally inclined to do. If your kid maybe says they're really interested in learning how to ride horses, you would sign them up for horseback riding classes, and that would be like what you're learning for that time. I will say my kid's interested in theater, so I put him in a theater class that's year-round. And I found myself almost crying because I went to this theater class. I watched it last week, and most of it's him standing around watching other kids. For an hour, my kindergartner was silent, waiting for his 2 lines, which is a great lesson, but a year-long lesson. It takes 9 months for this play to actually happen. And when he wants to do a play at home, he's done this where we'll memorize an entire book, he'll make a costume, and he'll perform it for me and his dad and his friends at the end of the day. No boring waiting around, so much more personal. Oh my gosh, it's raining so hard. But that's the point of unschooling. It's a lot more personal and kids learn a lot more. My kid will sit around with a calculator for usually 20 minutes to an hour a day, just out of choice. I don't say it's math time. He just chooses to get out the calculator. He told me today, Mom, no matter how many times you multiply 1 by 1, it will always be 1. I typed it in 100 times. It will never change. And I'm like, yeah, you didn't need a teacher to teach you that. You figured it out with a calculator because you're an individual who's curious. And that's how humans learn. We're curious and we don't need someone to stand and lecture us to learn something. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I've been on a walk for 10 minutes. This is just what it's like here. But just know that unschoolers are going on to be Ivy League educated. On average, they do test better in standardized tests than the average kid. I had a friend who unschooled 4 of her kids, and they asked to go to school for a 6-week period. The schools where they lived in Australia were in 6 to 8 week chunks. And they just went for one 6 to 8 week period. And they were like, that's enough. Thanks for the social engagement. You can totally put your kid into any sort of class they ask. My kid's in classes right now, not a public school, not 7 hours a day. But he said, I want to go to classes. I said, how many hours? He said, maybe once or twice a week. I said, sold. And I found that for him. And that's unschooling, is that you allow your kid to actually choose what they're learning so they don't burn out and get squashed and oppressed and put into random boxes of what they should be learning. It's like a school designed just for them, without the random constraints that we've put on our children of what they should be learning. When I graduated, I realized I didn't know who Chairman Mao was. I didn't know who Stalin was, not really. I didn't know who Pol Pot was. I knew Hitler. Why did I only know Hitler? Why is that all that's taught? I want to know our world's history, and I knew so little. I was frustrated because I was really interested in history. And so a kid who's interested in history should be taught history. That's unschooling. I would have read so many books if I just had time, but I was so busy doing my homework. That's the problem. Our kids are really stressed out. They have to learn all this dumb stuff and repeat it over and over and over again year after year. Homeschooling curriculum ends up being really comparable. It's so boring. Our kids deserve so much better than that.